Near-death experiences, often abbreviated as NDEs, are profound psychological events. Many people report these experiences when they are close to death or have been revived after being declared clinically dead. These individuals often describe a range of sensations, from feelings of peace and detachment from their physical body to vivid reviews of their life. What makes NDEs so compelling is their consistency across different cultures and backgrounds. These are not just fleeting dreams. They are often described as more real than everyday reality. The study of NDEs pushes the boundaries of our medical and scientific understanding of consciousness and the dying process, making it a truly fascinating area of research for many. The human fascination with NDEs is deeply rooted in our fundamental questions about life and what might happen after we die. These experiences touch upon our innate curiosity about the unknown, and perhaps our desire for meaning beyond our physical existence. When someone recounts seeing a bright light or meeting deceased loved ones, it resonates with ancient beliefs and spiritual traditions found worldwide. This intersection of personal testimony and profound existential questions makes NDEs a topic of enduring interest. People are naturally drawn to stories that challenge our everyday perceptions of reality and offer a potential glimpse into what lies beyond the veil of life as we know it. One of the most commonly reported elements within these near-death accounts is the vision of a bright, often welcoming, light. Sometimes this light is perceived at the end of a tunnel, pulling the individual towards it. This particular detail is strikingly consistent across a multitude of NDE reports, regardless of the person's age, cultural upbringing, or religious beliefs or lack thereof. The light is often described as being intensely brilliant yet not painful to the eyes. Many describe it as a source of immense love, peace, and understanding, a beacon in what might otherwise be a frightening experience. The vividness and emotional impact of this light are truly remarkable. The prevalence of this bright light phenomenon is a key reason why NDEs capture our imagination and scientific curiosity so intensely. It challenges our conventional understanding of how the brain functions, especially when it is seemingly shutting down. Is this light a purely biological response, a trick of a dying brain? Or could it signify something more, something beyond our current scientific grasp? These questions drive researchers to explore the physiological and psychological mechanisms that could be at play. Understanding the bright light is central to understanding NDEs themselves, and it continues to be a focal point for both scientific investigation and philosophical contemplation. When a person is near death, perhaps due to cardiac arrest or severe trauma, the brain often experiences a critical shortage of oxygen and blood flow. This condition is known medically as cerebral hypoxia or anoxia. Without a steady supply of oxygen, brain cells cannot function properly and begin to shut down. This process doesn't happen instantaneously throughout the entire brain. Different regions may be affected at different rates. The initial stages of oxygen deprivation can trigger a cascade of neurochemical changes as the brain tries to cope with the extreme stress. This critical state is believed to be a significant factor in triggering the unusual perceptions reported in NDEs. As the brain is starved of oxygen, it can release a surge of various neurochemicals. Some researchers suggest that endorphins, the body's natural pain relievers, might be released in large quantities, potentially contributing to the feelings of peace and well-being often described by NDE survivors. Another hypothesis involves the release of excitatory neurotransmitters like glutamate, which in excessive amounts due to cellular stress can overstimulate brain cells. This overstimulation could potentially lead to a flood of unusual sensory information. Some even speculate about the role of endogenous hallucinogens, chemicals naturally produced in the brain, which might be released under extreme duress, creating vivid, dreamlike visions. The visual cortex, the part of our brain responsible for processing visual information, is particularly sensitive to a lack of oxygen. When blood flow to this area is compromised, it can lead to a variety of visual disturbances. The classic tunnel vision reported by many NDEs, where the peripheral vision narrows, leaving only a central area of light, could be a direct result of this progressive shutdown of the visual system. As the cells in the visual cortex begin to malfunction due to oxygen deprivation, they might fire erratically, creating the perception of bright, unformed light. This is a physiological explanation for one of the most iconic NDE images. Therefore, the intense sensation of seeing a bright light might not be an external phenomenon, but rather an internal one generated by the brain itself. As the visual system struggles under extreme physiological stress, the erratic firing of neurons could be interpreted by the conscious mind as an overwhelming illumination. This doesn't diminish the profound personal impact of the experience, but it does offer a potential neurological basis for why such a specific visual phenomenon is so commonly reported. The brain, even in its final moments, is capable of producing extraordinary experiences as it responds to the ultimate crisis of survival. Recent scientific investigations have provided fascinating new insights into what happens in the brain around the time of death. Studies using electroencephalography, or EEG, on dying patients, and even in animal models, have sometimes detected surprising bursts of highly coherent brain activity in the moments leading up to and even shortly after the heart stops beating. This late-stage surge in neural activity, particularly in gamma brain waves which are associated with consciousness, perception, and memory recall, could potentially explain the highly lucid and organized nature of near-death experiences, including the vivid recall of life events and the perception of bright lights. This surge of brain activity could be the brain's final desperate attempt to make sense of the overwhelming cascade of events occurring during the dying process. The heightened electrical activity in regions associated with consciousness might generate the complex narratives and intense emotions characteristic of NDEs. If areas involved in visual processing and memory formation are hyperactive during this period, it could very well lead to the perception of brilliant lights and the feeling of reliving one's life. These findings suggest that the brain, far from simply shutting down passively, might undergo a unique, highly active state at the threshold of death, offering a physiological correlate to these profound experiences. While science strives to uncover the biological mechanisms behind the bright light and other NDE phenomena, it's crucial to acknowledge that for many, these experiences hold deep spiritual or metaphysical significance. Many individuals who have NDEs interpret the bright light as a divine presence, a passage to an afterlife, or a sign of profound spiritual awakening. They might see it as a welcoming entity, a source of unconditional love, or a glimpse into a reality beyond our material world. These interpretations often bring immense comfort and can lead to significant positive transformations in a person's life, values, and beliefs. It is important to understand that scientific explanations and spiritual interpretations do not necessarily have to be mutually exclusive. Science can help us understand the physiological processes, the how, occurring in the brain during an NDE. For example, it can explain how oxygen deprivation or a surge in neural activity might cause the perception of light. However, the personal meaning and significance of that light, the why or what it means for the individual, often fall into the realm of personal belief, spirituality, and philosophy. Both perspectives contribute to our overall understanding of this complex human experience. The phenomenon of seeing bright lights during near-death experiences remains a deeply complex and multifaceted subject. It truly sits at a fascinating crossroads where biology, psychology, personal testimony, and even philosophy intersect. The consistency of these reports across diverse populations suggests there's a fundamental human experience occurring, even if its ultimate nature is still debated. Scientists are working diligently to map the neural correlates, trying to understand precisely what happens in the brain to produce such vivid and impactful visions. Yet, the subjective quality of these experiences makes them inherently challenging to study with complete objectivity. The enduring interest in NDEs, and particularly the vision of the bright light, stems from their connection to some of the most profound questions humanity faces. We are all confronted with our own mortality, and these experiences offer tantalizing glimpses into what might occur at life's ultimate threshold. Do they signify a transition? Are they merely the final fireworks of a dying brain? Or do they point towards a form of consciousness that can exist independently of our physical bodies? These are questions that have captivated thinkers, spiritual leaders, and everyday people for millennia, and NDEs bring them into sharp, personal focus. Despite the significant strides made in neuroscience and medical research, there is still a great deal we do not understand about the dying process and the nature of consciousness itself. The brain is an incredibly complex organ, and its behavior under extreme conditions is still largely uncharted territory. Each new study adds a piece to the puzzle, but the full picture remains elusive. The very fact that these experiences are so deeply personal and transformative adds another layer of complexity, as scientific inquiry must also respect the profound individual meaning attached to them. Ultimately, the mystery of the bright light will likely continue to captivate our collective imagination for years to come. It challenges our understanding of life, death, and the very essence of what it means to be conscious. As long as humans ponder their existence, these accounts will serve as powerful reminders of the profound mysteries that still lie just beyond our grasp. The ongoing quest to understand these experiences fuels both scientific endeavor and deep personal reflection, ensuring their place in our ongoing conversation about life's biggest questions.